Welcome back to the next campfire scare. Today's story involves Silver Elves, a Hittman in a Cadillac, and a Bayou. If you want to learn how all these connect, then stick around the campfire. In December 1998, 23-year-old Matthew David Pettigrist was in his last semester at Rhodes College, Tennessee. On the morning of Matthew's disappearance, he was due at class just 4 blocks away. He left his apartment at Memphis, Tennessee, but never arrived at class. Matthew was never seen again. On the same day he disappeared, his vehicle was found abandoned on a private levee near a bayou called Meta Swamp off of Curve Road in Lonoke County, Arkansas. The area was a private land reserved for duck hunters. Joe Myrtle and a friend told Matthew's mother, Mary Ellen, that he had seen her son's SUV parked up there around 2 p.m. He also stated it had not been there when he passed around 10 a.m. Joe and his friend left a note asking for the owner to move it. When they arrived the following day, it was still there. Joe looked inside the SUV. It was still unlocked. They found the keys still in the ignition and an oil receipt that had the home phone number. A search around the vehicle was conducted. Just 100 yards from the SUV, his wallet, credit card, and $46 in cash were found inside his jean pockets. His clothes were found in the woods in a pile. Where the clothes and SUV were located was 125 miles where he was supposed to be. It was winter and Matthew's pants were wet from the knee down, shirt dry, and no jacket. Matthew was last seen leaving Memphis around 7:30 a.m. on December 1st. The previous night he appeared in a play at college. He also called a friend in Atlanta to discuss a paper he was going to write. Geo Brooks said he sounded upbeat when they talked. Matthew sent a text the following morning saying everything's alright, no problem, I will talk to you later. Some questions what those messages meant. They wonder if it was a clue to what happened to him. Matthew was slim, 5'6". He played sports at the private school he attended. He was sociable, well-liked. He also played Dungeons and Dragons. When Matthew's parents found out about his SUV, they began to coordinate a search. They called the college campus security. Security checked his apartment and began to ask students if they had seen Matthew. Helicopters with night vision, divers with sonar, and bloodhounds all began to check out the swamp. The canines picked up the scent from the clothes and followed it to the water's edge. The area they were searching was 30,000 acres. Rivers were complex. The woods were thick. The canines couldn't pick up any scent from the SUV, but from the clothes to the water was the only scent they could pick up. The detectives found no struggle, no weapons, and no DNA. A very strange commonality of suicides who kill themselves by walking into rivers or seas. They often strip naked, pile their clothes, and are never seen again. One clue came about to detectives from this online game, Dungeons and Dragons. The Silver Elves. Matthew had a journal he wrote in with poetry talking about life, death, and silver elves. To become an elf, you had to walk in water and become one with nature. The authorities searched for a week after finding his pile of clothes in the woods and couldn't find anything. All the sheriffs could do was come up with theories about what happened. The case went cold. It wasn't until 2013 Matthew Mershon of KATV News announced a possible breakthrough in the case. A letter was sent to the Jacksonville police. The letter named individually a group of people that were involved in the case. They investigated all the people. Unfortunately, most of the people on the list were already dead. There was a private investigator that was hired by Matthew's parents that made some connections. A trooper had pulled over a Cadillac along the road close to where Matthew disappeared. The man next to the Cadillac was trembling, so the trooper pulled over to check. Another man showed up carrying a gas can, and he thought that the driver was trembling because it was winter and he ran out of gas. The detective looking into this discovered the man in the Cadillac showed back up after near the same spot and broke into a house. It was for the purpose of using a phone. When the owner came home, she screamed when she saw the intruder. The intruder, aka the Cadillac driver, said calmly to the person on the phone, "I have to go. The lady of the house just came in." He opened the front door and left. Then the lady who owned the house noticed the Cadillac driver was holding a cell phone in his hand. So why break in and use a phone? Once the owner of the house knew he was gone, she pressed redial to see the number he called, and it turned out to be a convenience store located in the North Little Rock, not far from the location of her house. The lady handed over the phone number to a private detective, and he ran a background check. The man who answered the phone at the store had a criminal record. The Cadillac driver was arrested in Phoenix, Arizona a week later for marijuana and mushrooms. He also had a criminal record. The Cadillac driver was arrested in Phoenix, Arizona a week later for marijuana and mushrooms. He also had a criminal record. The Cadillac was owned by a drug runner and a counterfeiter who lived in Atlanta. He lived only 3 miles from the friend of the student who went missing. It was a strange coincidence the friend and drug dealer lived so close in the same city. On December 3rd, the private detective made the connection of the Cadillac driver, the friend, and the student. All had phone calls from each other. The detective thought there was a high chance of this being a drug deal gone wrong. After all, the Cadillac driver was at the Bayou. Did the student find himself way over his head? Was he panicked and led to everyone panicking, so this led to his death? The private detective thought Matthew's body could have been in the trunk of the Cadillac, or perhaps his body was hidden in the Bayou. This case has never been solved. Where did Matthew go?